discomfort is the exact thing that is missing in your business in order for you to hit consistent 5K months. Because if it was easy for you, you would have already done it. And if you don't have the result, it's because something is holding you back that you're not willing to look at. And this is why we're going to talk about your nervous system today. We're going to talk about how we make discomfort something that is more comfortable, something that we are willing to look at and start to focus on and say, how can I bring this in with so much acceptance that I am excited to look at it and do something about it. Now, when I talk about discomfort, your discomfort can be caused by a multitude of things in your business. And everyone's will be different. So you need to figure out what is causing your discomfort and why you are shying away personally. So if you sit down and ask yourself, why do I not have the result that I want? It is going to be triggering, but it is going to be worth it, I promise. Ask yourself, what am I not doing to warrant the result that I want? How am I not showing up? And it's always going to come back to like a handful of things. Like it's going to come back to a handful of fears. So we're going to be sort of uncomfortable with being seen. So uncomfortable with being visible, with people hearing our thoughts and knowing like what we're thinking. We might be uncomfortable with labeling ourselves as an expert. So I have a client who is literally an expert. They are well studied to a high level. They've been doing the thing that they've been doing for 10 years and they've just started their own business, and they were like, oh, I don't know if I can call myself an expert. And I was like, you absolutely can. Like, you are the definition of an expert. But it's really interesting because a lot of people get this kind of fear of like, oh, if I go online and say I'm the expert, like I'm going to be like attracting people who want to argue with me or people who don't agree with me. And that is a level of discomfort that you have to kind of work with. It can also be things like that idea of like, once I go online, it's easier for people to troll me, to cancel me, to bully me, to disagree with me. Like that could be the discomfort that's keeping you hidden. It could be like, oh, I have nothing original to say. I don't want to be the same as other people. I don't want to just like share similar content. So like, I'm just not going to share until I've got something valuable to say. Like, again, no, you have something valuable to say. Just because somebody else is talking about it doesn't mean that you don't have your own unique angle that you can bring to the topic. So like, definitely don't do that. Things like saying like, oh, I have nothing to say, or I feel too confused, or I feel too overwhelmed, or I don't feel worthy. That could be your trigger. I don't feel worthy of the result. I don't feel worthy of the ease. I don't feel worthy of the money. I don't feel worthy of the space that I'm creating for myself. For a lot of people, especially if you've come up through corporate and you've had this like very structured, this is when you get to work, this is when you eat lunch, this is when you're allowed breaks, this is when you are going home. Once you get home, like this is the normal for what people do in their evenings. Like depending on which side of the coin you are, either you go work out and then you go home and eat dinner and chill, or you go home, eat dinner, like maybe have a drink, like watch a movie, like whatever it is. There's like a set box that you live in. And when you then move into this online world and suddenly there's so much more capability for what you can be doing with your time, how you can be living your life, like a lot of people can feel really guilty. A lot of people can feel like, oh, I'm not worthy of all of this space, I'm not worthy of all of this good stuff. And like that's another reason why you might play small and you might keep your business small, because your nervous system is trying to protect you from being like shunned by other people. So if you speak too loudly, you might be shunned. If you say something that is too bold, you might be shunned. If you have too much freedom and too much space and are too kind of flowy and like great, you might be shunned. So your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. So it basically piles on the discomfort. It goes, no, 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 we don't want to do this, we don't want to show up like this, we don't want to be on video, we don't want to show our face, you know, we don't want to say this thing. And there is a conflict within you, because there's a part of you that so deeply wants to start the business. There's a part of you that so deeply wants to earn the, you know, £5,000 months. There's a part of you so deeply that wants to do it with ease and space and freedom and create this life that you want to create for yourself. And then there's a part of you that's really scared that that success might be possible. It's really scared that of all of the little pieces of your life that'll have to change in order for you to become that person. So you have to step away from a job to become that person. You have to maybe step away from relationships or friendships or the approval of people in your life. I know a lot of my clients have said to me, you know, when they try to explain their business to the mums at the school gate for the first time, they got sort of, oh, why are you doing that? Oh, you know, isn't that dangerous to leave your job to do that? They got a lot of kind of like discomfort. Now again, that is somebody else's discomfort. That's somebody else's nervous system being triggered. But it triggers your nervous system in the process. And this is one of those things where until you can actually see the discomfort, actually become aware of what is holding you back, it is really difficult to then move through that. So I had a coaching session with my own coach recently, and we were having this discussion about like, why am I not sharing? You know, when I do videos like this, I am a very different person than when I actually write content like on my Instagram. When I deliver inside my programs, I am a very different person than when I write content on my Instagram. We were having this discussion, like what happens in my brain in that process of like having the idea versus it actually getting into the world on Instagram. And it was so interesting because I had quite a competitive upbringing. There was always like competition around me, and I realized that actually like I have this belief that I don't want to like upset anyone by like winning the competition or like being too boastful about my life or, you know, saying too many things. So because I was thinking, you know, when I'm in my programs, it's a really safe space. It's never going to get out. When I'm doing a YouTube video, like again, it feels like quite a safe space. Somebody would have to be really interested in my content to come and actually sit and watch it and go through this process. But when you're just posting something like on Instagram, everyone can see it in like a snapshot. And something in my nervous system was making me change the way that I wrote, that I spoke, that I said the things that I wanted to say. I was kind of going into like this more corporate mindset of like, how do I keep everybody happy while I do this? Mind-blowing when you actually see what's causing the discomfort. So I had to get like, okay, so there's something underlying here about me being too boastful. Now, I'm a massive advocate of therapy. I instantly messaged my therapist to say, the next time I see you, this is the lowdown, this is what we need to deal with, this is what we need to like shift through my body because I don't want this anymore. It's not for me. I am here to make a massive impact on thousands of women's lives. So we need to do something different because I'm not playing this game. And that's sort of like my process of like, okay, expansion through that. Then I sat down and I journaled on it, and I was like, okay, let's go through and like write down why I'm feeling this, what's coming up, what the sort of thought process is that's going on in my mind, like why this has kind of come out of nowhere, if we can call it that. So I journaled on it, like just like got it all out, just like word spewed for pages. And then I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I really want to say? And I thought, okay, let's go watch training recordings, let's go watch the YouTube videos, let's pull out actual phrases, actual lines, actual hard sort of topics that I'm speaking about in my programs, and start getting those onto my Instagram. And this is a perfect example where we can find the discomfort, we can start to process through the discomfort. So I use the session with my coach to find the discomfort, I use the session with my therapist and my own journaling to deal with the discomfort and start to move it, and then I put the strategy in place to say, okay, now how do we go back and repurpose content that I know is good, that I know I'm myself in, and actually use that in that space to make sure that before people come and work with me, they see the true version of me. They see what they're buying into. And that's so important in the process. So you can see, like, the strategy is still there. The strategy of how we actually bring this back into the world and make sales of it, there. But first we have to do the discomfort work. First we have to do the work with our nervous system, where we say, okay, how am I going to, one, figure out what the discomfort is, two, start processing through the discomfort so I can bring awareness and light and, you know, movement to it. And then three, how can I build a strategy to make sure that that discomfort doesn't stunt the growth of my business. It doesn't stunt the income that I'm earning. It doesn't stunt the message that I'm sharing. Because if we're stunting that process, we're not going to have the success that we are rightfully due and that we are here to create. So I want you to sit down and ask yourself, genuinely, what is your discomfort? What is the area of your business that you're shying away from, that you're turning a blind eye to, that you're not giving yourself enough time for, you're always too busy for? Because you don't want to lean in. Instead, you're trying to lean out and go, oh, that makes me feel gross. If you can lean into that discomfort and say, this is the thing that's uncomfortable and this is what I'm going to do about it and this is how I'm going to move through this discomfort and regulate my nervous system and make me more able, that is going to absolutely change the game for you. Okay, so the last couple of videos have all been on this idea of the nervous system, of continuous income, of, you know, the strategy and the person you need to be. So if you haven't watched them, go back and watch them. They're epic. And if you haven't yet already, subscribe to the channel and like the video, because it really helps to push these videos out to thousands of women, and that is what we want in this process. I am so excited. Next week we're going to dive into a meditation. It's going to be so good, and it's going to be around this idea of getting more comfortable, of pushing out your overwhelm, of taking the action of doing the things. So I cannot wait to share that with you. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I will see you guys next week.